So I think the news that a lot of people want us to talk about is Jaden Ivey. One of the first topics was him being injured, set to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. Did have a procedure on that knee because there was some, discomfort. JB Bickerstaff mentioned that he had knee issues and it progressively got worse over the course of training camp. So I kind of wanted to ask you, Sean, like, what are your takeaways with hearing that Jaden Ivey is going to be out, possibly 4 to 6 weeks with this knee injury, and um, should we be worried?
Yeah, so it's important to note that according to the team that he's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. So, from that reevaluation period, there's very good chance that there will still need to be some form of ramp up period. So, in regards to like predicting when Ivy will come back, that's really difficult. First and foremost, you just can't help but feel bad for the person. Like just like right when it was about time to come back, got that taste of being back on the floor in the preseason, and then right as the season's about to start and right as the window for the extension period, even though a deal was unlikely at this point anyway, nonetheless it's just a really tough blow for someone like Jaden Ivey, who just has had a really difficult calendar year thus far. As far as like what this means for the team, I mean, it's a big blow, right? I think just being realistic about the fact that you already were without some really key pieces from last year's team, and Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, Tim Hardaway Jr. And part of the bet that Detroit was making was, on top of bringing in Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, the biggest addition this offseason was going to be a healthy Jaden Ivey. And unfortunately, at least for the first 10, 15, who knows, 20 plus games, that's just not going to be the case. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not claiming to be, but I do know quite a bit about knee surgeries and about knee pain. When I was born, my left leg bent the wrong way, and so I had to have multiple operations. That's a story for a different day. But, what I can tell you is knee surgeries are complicated as heck, and the recovery period is different for every single person. And, the unfortunate reality is even for something where, I remember at the time it was like, well, this is the best case scenario, the way that it broke, it was a clean break, it's easy to operate on, all those different things. That doesn't mean that some form of complication can come down the road. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we've seen here. And I know a lot of people were, because I think one of the, biggest beefs people have with, the Pistons, or, like people who follow the Pistons, is the communication around injuries. And I think where it's tough with something like this is you don't really want to cause panic, but at the same time, you can't really say what you don't know. And for something like this, I imagine he went and saw multiple specialists. A lot of times, like if a surgery is required, they'll see a specialist and they'll just do the surgery right there on the spot. So it could have been one of those things that wasn't even decided until he was in the office and there to do that type of arthroscopic procedure. So all that to say, really hope that he's able to come back healthy. It's just the reality of it is this is just, another obstacle in the way for the Pistons, unless, somehow, some way Malik Beasley gets cleared in the next week and can join the team and be on the roster in 2 weeks. Like, I'm just assuming he's not going to be on the team unless I'm told otherwise. So all that to be said, it's just another obstacle for this team to overcome. And certainly for, JB Bickerstaff and his coaching staff, some difficult decisions and things that you're going to really have to experiment with.
I was honestly shocked,
Yeah.
because like we got told day to day, like on the 15th, and then the next day or two, you get that PR email, you get that Shams notification saying like, yeah, he's gonna be out 4 weeks. He'll be reevaluated for 4 weeks. I did talk to a physical therapy doctor because I was curious, and they said in most cases it's 4 to 6 weeks. But like you mentioned, everyone's different. Everyone heals differently. From what I gathered, these surgeries are very non-invasive. They're not that major because I think anytime you hear the word surgery, I think people like, oh crap, like he's gonna be out for a long time. I think a thing where what really stood out to me was a quote that JB said during the preseason saying, like, we're trying to get everybody just 100% healthy. We don't want anything nagging. And I think, Jaden could have went into the season with this injury, been day to day, and it progressively could have gotten way worse. The way I look at it, and if you want to take a silver lining out of it, you might as well get the surgery now, go through the rehab for the next 4 weeks, and maybe you're available to play end of November, early December.
Yeah.
I think that's a silver lining to it. Obviously, it does suck that he's not going to be in the starting lineup, but that's just my 2 cents with it.
Yeah.
Hope he's doing well. I mean, all the stuff that we heard about, like how he was hurt he hurt himself during training camp. Even that NBA TV Real training camp, I was watching it back. Like, you could actually see him limping, like during like a segment. I was like, oh crap, like maybe he wasn't 100% healthy.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a lot of good points there. One quote that really resonates with me, or that I remember hearing quite a bit from, a guy that you and I really like and follow, Brian Windhorst. A saying that he used to say a lot is, "There's no such thing as a non-invasive knee surgery, because surgery is still surgery." To your point, this isn't the type of major operation that is a months long recovery, where he's going to have to go through the same level of rehab and physical therapy that he did to come back from this previous injury. But that doesn't mean that it's not still a surgery and a procedure that could come with its own sets of complications. A lot of times guys get scopes, fixes a lot of the issues that are there, and things are good. Unfortunately, we've also seen in the past in Detroit, like, there is precedent for players having scopes and things not going well. A Blake Griffin, is really the name
Mhm.
that comes to mind. Now, Jaden Ivey has far less mileage on his body than Blake Griffin had. Blake Griffin's injury, he really rode that knee through like a season that he probably shouldn't have, but did for the city of Detroit, which, by the way, you should 100% respect him for, not boo him for. That's a whole other, again, a conversation for another day. But again, it's one of those things where it's probably not going to be that situation, but at the very least, it's something to continue to monitor. So for fans that see, oh, he's going to be out 4 weeks, I just urge you to remind you that it says reevaluated in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So in reality, we're probably talking about, like, realistically speaking, we're probably not talking about Jaden Ivey being back in the lineup until December. If we're being conservative.
Yeah, I mean, I think people see the 4 weeks like, oh, he's back in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Reevaluated doesn't mean back.
Yeah.
He's going to get checked out again by the Detroit Pistons medical staff and the medical team. He's going through his rehab. He'll be going through this rehab for the next 4 weeks or so, and we'll get another update like they put out on their Twitter account, on their PR account. They'll give
Yep.
an appropriate update of how the rehab is going, how he's progressing, and maybe within the next 4 weeks we will actually get a timetable of when he could be back. Not promising anything, but that's just sometimes how these evaluations go. They give you kind of like maybe a quote unquote timetable.
Yeah.
I think December realistically is probably when you will see him, but JB seemed like sucked, but hey, there's a reason why they went out and got a Karras and a Duncan, and it does kind of raise the opportunity for other guys that are maybe a little bit behind in the rotation that might get an opportunity to play.